It's suffering its biggest communications blackout since the uprising started against President Assad, 20 months ago. Both the internet and mobile phone services are down. There's also been heavy fighting in and around the capital, Damascus, including around the airport.
According to opposition activists in London, the road to Damascus International Airport was closed because of clashes between rebels and military forces. At least 2 airlines are cancelling flights to the Syrian capital. Information out of Syria has slowed to a trickle. An internet monitoring group says web access was almost entirely shut down nationwide.
The skies south of Damascus blackened by smoke as a military offensive takes hold near the Syrian capital's airport. Districts in rebel hands took a heavy hit from airstrikes across the area. Access to the airport was all but cut off, with 2 airlines, Egyptair and Emirates, suspending indefinitely all flights. The country's internet connections were cut off Thursday morning, with this graph from a monitoring company showing Syria effectively dropping off the internet at 10:30 a.m. local time. Most phone networks were also cut. Opposition activists pointed the finger at the Assad regime and accused it of planning a massacre. State TV blamed terrorists for the outage. It's the worst disruption to communication since the uprising began 20 months ago, and came after a string of rebel victories in capturing bases and weaponry from regular forces. This allowed insurgents to take on President Bashar al-Assad's previously unchallenged air power. However, around the rest of the country, bombardments continued unabated, notably in Aleppo, where rescue workers and volunteers did their best to recover victims from the city's rubble.
And fighters in the northern city of Aleppo say destruction has increased since the government started using warplanes. And the air campaign is taking a heavy human toll as well. Activists say a bombing in the Al-Ansari district killed 15 people, including women and children, on Thursday. Rob Matheson reports.
Just moments after a Syrian government jet attacks the suburbs of Al-Ansari and Aleppo, people run to the site. They find a young boy, injured and pushed against the wall of a crumbling building. They rush him out to get some help. What stood before is no longer here. There's rubble everywhere. Smoke and dust fill the air. And as they walk round the corner, more victims, thrown about among the rocks and bits of metal from the buildings that once stood here. Several people are killed, women and children among them. But this suburb of Aleppo was not the only target the Syrian government had in mind. There were more air raids and shellings in Daraa, in Daria, in Kafr Souza, also in Deir ez-Zor. It's being reported most of the internet and mobile communication lines across the country have been cut off. The government blames the rebels. But at the moment, the fighting between the two sides is focused in and around Damascus. That forced the closure of the main road leading from the capital to the international airport. So with the main link into the country closed and no way for people to communicate with the outside world, some fear it could be a sign of a large-scale military offence.